So we'll just read it off here. Rotary's four-way test. Is it the truth? Is it
fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and benefit friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
In reality, Mac, you know, we recite that, but on a daily basis, we should be including that in everything that we think, say, and do, right, folks?
Yes, Jim.
That's actually how you should start it is of the things we say, think, and do, is it the truth?
Yeah, we'll need to see if we can get some of the little cards that I know we used to have. I've always carried mine in my wallet, and it's always nice when I'm pulling a credit card out or, you know, a picture of my driver's license. Kind of like having the coin in your pocket type thing.
I don't know if anybody else has renewed their driver's license during all this. I just did. And it was great because the picture came back. I didn't look a day older than the last one.
Dylan is sick over that because he's 24 years old and his picture is when he was 16.
Oh.
Not happy.
Yeah, probably no facial hair yet at that point, huh?
Not at all, no.
We're on slightly late. Did I miss the Pledge of Allegiance, Mac?
Nope, we haven't.
No, we were just kind of
not done that yet.
Okay.
We were just kind of sitting tight, Gary, but you know, we can go ahead and move into that. And let's go ahead and do that. Mac, would you mind putting the flag up? Okay, folks, ready? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, well, I guess that's the preliminary part of the meeting, you know, kick off with the perfunctory items. Gary, again, super job on the newsletter. Appreciate you putting that together. That was a nice tribute to Tom Grant. Thank you for including that in there and keeping us up to date on so many other things. So we appreciate that.
Hopefully Richard St. Dennis isn't on Central Time or Mountain Time.
You know, the thing I sent him this morning, I reiterated that if we were noon Eastern Time, I think he is Central Time. And I tried calling the number I have for him as well, but Verizon wouldn't let the call go through.
Did you want to shoot him another quick email just to remind him that we're on the call, or maybe you did?
I will do that.
Okay.
Hey, Jim.
Yeah.
Jim,
sure.
I was going to send you a message through the chat, but you're not on the list for some reason. While we're waiting, I just wondered if we might talk about a Paul Harris Fellow, because I see that Adam is with us today, and we didn't have him with us last week or the week before, so I just wondered if I might mention a couple of things about.
I think that's fabulous, and was going to suggest that, so that's perfect.
Adam, good to see you here with us again.
Good to see you.
I found out that you evidently got transferred to Cannesburg, I guess, and maybe even moved there. So that's why we've been missing you. But we were talking about you last week, and talking about the fact that you took advantage of the program, our Paul Harris Fellow program in the club, and I don't know if you can. It's hard to see, but this is, I'm just ready to put it in the mail, but I'm glad that you're here that we can show you. This is your Paul Harris Fellow Certificate. And let me take the nice little protective paper here. You can see it here. This is Adam's Paul Harris Fellow Certificate. And along with the certificate, his Paul Harris pin. And as we talked last week, each time you contribute an additional $1,000 to the foundation, you'll get another pin with a, it's indicated with a sapphire, and until you have 5 of those. And then the next pin to come on the next contribution would be rubies. There's 3 rubies before you become a major donor. But we want to thank you for taking advantage of the program, for contributing to the Rotary on behalf of the Richmond Rotary Club. We thank you for that on behalf of the Rotary Foundation, and for all those that benefit from your generosity that, again, you'll never maybe have a chance to meet in our communities right here or in communities around the world. So congratulations and thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Well, Adam, congratulations, and it is really good to see you again. Thanks for being on the call. So, how's everything going in Canonsburg? How's the transition?
Not bad at all. I was out for a few weeks because I had my back problems again, so I just came back last week, on and off. It's not bad. I still live by the airport, but this is closer for me. It saves me 10 minutes in traffic. It's a nice area. There's a lot of opportunity here, and I still miss my members and Monk, Sharon. Hi, Sharon. So I miss all my members there. So, and they miss me too, I believe. So, yeah, it's a good move.
Good.
Well, Jim, all I can say is, yeah, I sent him an email after Mac and I weren't sure about getting the Zoom info to him. I sent him the Zoom info at about 8:40 this morning, and then also at 11:20 had emailed him, and then I just emailed him again. So there seems to be a communication problem here. I know he had initially said that he could do either the 9th or the 30th, and I had slotted him into the 9th. If we don't, for some reason, connect with him here today, then he should be available December 30th, if we'd like to do that then. I do have 2 quick questions as well, Rotary-wise. You know, trying to do a little song and dance here while we continue to wait. But one of the things I said was, if we do some meetings, we need to do a little more Rotary centric meetings as well, and promote some of the various Rotary aspects, whether it's polio, whether it's the foundation, whatever it is. I have two questions here, and we'll see if anybody can who can answer this. Maybe Ken Fleeson, maybe we should eliminate you because you probably are on top of all this stuff. But aside from Ken, can anyone tell me what country the present president of Rotary International is from? Michelle. Well, Michelle, you're with the E Club too, right?
Yes.
So you're on top of all this stuff to a much greater extent as well.
Not really, Chuck. Not really.
All right, then I'll let you answer. Go ahead.
Germany.
Germany is correct. For double bonus points, can anyone give me his name? Go ahead, Michelle.
Verkenack.
That's right, Holger Kanak. An interesting name. All right, question number 2. Can anyone tell me where, and Michelle, you're eliminated now as well, along with Ken. Can anyone tell me where the 2021 Rotary International meeting is going to be? The National Convention.
Taiwan.
Correct. Taipei, Taiwan. Exactly. All right. I've exhausted my Rotary centric questions right now. The other thing that we probably should, just mention is Tom Grant's passing too. And, we've lost such a stalwart who was just so magnificent with all that he did with the polio efforts, all that he did with the shelter box efforts. Jim, I think it would probably be appropriate if we had a moment, maybe a minute of silence for Tom, because we really lost a great Rotarian.
Chloe, what'd you get into?
Yeah, I think, we could have a brief pause to reflect on that. But frankly, I'd like to, then maybe we could actually share a few stories for some of you that might know Tom very well. I know we talked through Mike Burkhart and what he meant to the club last week. I think sometimes it's nice to share some of the memories and some of the things, reiterate some of the things that folks have done. So let's take a small period of time to recognize him with some silence, and then I'd like to open up the floor and get some stories. So.
Anyway, back to PM, she said Val died from COVID.
That's what they're saying. Everybody's dying from COVID. You could have heart problems, you could have respiratory problems, but everybody's dying from COVID.
Okay, thank you all. Mac, is there any way that we could put Mary on mute? Can you do that, please?
Yeah, I did.
Perfect, thank you. So I know Joe and Ken, you've known Tom, maybe Gary, others. Any stories you'd like to share with us about Tom and his life?
Well, I talked to Marie just the other day, and one of the things about Tom, and of course we all know he's a survivor, and even though he survived it, he kind of suffered with after effects of it most of his life. But as he traveled our district and actually outside of our district, he was somebody, even though he was a very notable person, he never looked for any kind of notoriety himself or anything. He was always, of course, concerned about eradication of polio, spreading the word. I mean, one of the neatest things to see is the pictures of him talking to little kids in grade school about polio, because that they never heard or never, if they heard of it, they certainly forgot about the word polio. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing because of especially our efforts and the World Health Organization. But he never looked for any of that notoriety, including his advocacy for shelter blocks and so forth. So I told Marie that I hope that I could be more like him. That's all. Try to emulate Tom, try to be more like him.
Thanks, Joe. How's Marie doing? Is she holding up okay?
Of course, when I talked to her, I think the word was that she's just numb right now. And, I mean, I don't know we don't know what that would be like, but you have to somehow jump into action to get things done at a time like that. And then the grieving certainly, I guess, comes later. So, but she's doing okay.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, Cindy and I went up. They had a viewing for Tom on Sunday and at Boylan Funeral Home. So Cindy and I went up, and it was a very nice ceremony they put on. It was the members of the Zillion Opal Club came in, and Archie Simpson, who is their foundation chair, did a real nice memorial of Tom. It was a small gathering. I don't think there were more than 20 or 25 people. But Tom Tom was a special individual. He was very, very quiet, but extremely knowledgeable and extremely well-versed worldwide. He and Marie did a lot of traveling, and he had a real passion for not only for the polio and for Shelter Box, but for youth exchange. And they hosted 2 different kids. The most recent one, which I think some of you may have met, was Urara from Japan. And it was just neat to watch the interaction between the Grants and Urara. It was like they were a family forever. But Tom, in addition to the youth exchange, Tom and Marie, anytime we had a group study exchange team come in, they were the first ones to raise their hand to host. And I always recall that we would sometimes try to plan activities, group activities, and we would be cognizant of Tom's polio and his inability to be able to walk without the crutches. But he didn't want any of that because he wanted to be a part of the group. And the one thing that stuck out to me, and I may have mentioned this before, was we took one of the group study exchange teams down to Station Square for a Just Ducky tour. And I don't know if any of you have ever seen those Humvees that they use to go on the tours, but those things sit way up in the air. And there's just a small ladder on the back of them to get people up into it. So we made some arrangements with them for handicap access, and Tom wanted no parts of it. He walked over to that ladder, took his crutches, handed them to Marie, and went right up that ladder and sat down in a seat. And that was just the way he was. He didn't want any attention brought to himself or drawn on him. He just wanted to be a part of everything that went on. And like somebody said before, Rotary has lost a tremendous member and a tremendous supporter. So, and I think the thing now is that, you know, we all need to consider and keep Marie in our prayers, because the 2 of them, they were joined together like glue. They did everything together, and she's going to miss him.
I had 2 quick thoughts about Tom as well. And just kind of expanding on what Ken was saying, we were Facebook friends, and one of the things that always amazed me was all the people that he knew. I mean, there would constantly be Facebook posts about so-and-so was in the country and staying with him, or he was going here and staying with these people that he knew, or he was going there and staying with these people that he knew. He just had so many friends worldwide. And the other thing about Tom was Tom could make you feel, when you talked to him and met him and just came upon him, that you were the most important person in the world. He was always so happy to see you. Just really would make you feel great just to be with him and talking to him. And such a humble guy too, just a wonderful guy.
Thanks, Chuck. Thanks, Ken. Any other thoughts?
Hey, Jim, since this is a day that we presented Adam his Paul Harris Fellow, I also would mention that the day I was up there at the funeral home, I walked over to a table where some of Tom's possessions were displayed on the table. And one of the things there was his Paul Harris Fellow recognition certificate. So, Adam, you're following his lead.
I sure hope so.
Yeah, it's definitely something you don't want to put in an envelope and put in the closet. I think it's important that others know and see that and ask, you know, in many cases what that is and what it's all about. And it's a great opportunity to share the organization and what all the foundation does.
Another way for us to really continue to remember Tom and to continue to advance some of the stuff that was so important to him was to really maintain our focus and our support for Shelter Box. I know John Marshall's gotten involved with that too, but here locally, he was great with how he took that, ran with it, promoted it. Every Rotary meeting, you'd always see Tom there with his Shelter Box. So that would be a great way to remember him too, just making sure that we continue promoting Shelter Box.
Yeah, and the other thing that I'll share with Tom and Maria about Shelter Box is Tom was very well known by the people within Shelter Box. And two things was, number one, some of you may be aware that, or may not be aware, but part of the district conference, we were going to be fortunate enough to have Carrie Murray, who is the president of Shelter Box, come into our district conference. She was coming from California. And it was only because of Tom and Marie and their outstanding work with Shelter Box were we able to establish and make that connection. But the other thing is that when Cindy and I went to International Assembly in January of 2019 in San Diego, we got an invitation to go to a cocktail party that was being sponsored by Shelter Box. So we went up and we walked in the room, and when they found out who we were, every single person from Shelter Box had to come over and introduce themselves to us and talk about Tom and Marie Grant. And that was unbelievable. That, you know, everybody knew him like they were best friends forever. So our district is going to need to find a new Shelter Box champion, that's for sure. So anybody want to raise their hand?
Doesn't John Marshall, hasn't he kind of taken that up?
He has done some of it, but you know, now John is going to be busy with other things because he's in the district governor chain. So I'm sure that we're going to need to be looking for somebody else to lead the charge.
I saw Dallas just lifted his right hand a minute ago, and then he lifted his left hand.
No, I think you got a bad picture.
And Gary, he stood up. To me, those are all the right signs.
Stood up to get something to drink. I'm choking up.
Dallas, that looks like a beer.
Gatorade.
Well, I know we're kind of free-forming today's meeting. Any other thoughts that folks might like to share with the group? Things that might be happening in your life, or some projects you might be involved with, or things of that nature? Anything that you think the group might benefit from?
Well, I thought maybe since she's on here, we'd pin Michelle down to give a little update about the E-Club, since everybody can join in to that E-Club, and they have a special membership too for friends and family. But they're always interesting and always an international group of people on there. So Michelle, why don't you just promote the E-Club a little bit and talk about what's happening.
Oh, Mac. Okay, sure. Yeah, the E-Club has grown quite a bit in the past 9 to 12 months. We started a program called Friends and Family, and it's really for people that enjoy coming to our meetings and enjoy the international flair of the meetings, like talking to people from other countries and other parts of, around the globe. And so we have a lot of folks like Mac and Judy Hughes and Jim Hughes and a lot of people that, of course, have their host clubs, their local clubs like this Richmar Club, but also come to and contribute to our meetings. And we really appreciate that because, we've been a really small club. We're a club that struggles to make money. And, we really appreciate the input and the wisdom and ideas from some of the members that have joined our Friends and Family. And there's no real exact cost to join as a friend and family member. We just ask for a donation of any type that you'd like to make. And what that does, that helps us offset some of the dues for some of the people in some of these other countries that can't afford our annual dues. not high. You know, our dues are $125, but that's a lot of money for some people in countries like Kosovo and other places where some of our members come from. So that's happening now. We are also working really diligently to launch phase 2 of our Build-A-Chair program that you all heard about last year. Mac on the Build-A-Chair team, and we're really excited that this has become an international project. We're going to have 5 clubs be sponsors of the project, and we're going to continue early next year raising funds to continue to provide wheelchairs to disabled individuals in Tanzania. And we're also going to look at other ways to help as we go forward. But it's pretty exciting because we have, as I said, 5, at least 5 clubs sponsoring, and 2 of those clubs, one's from New Zealand and one is from the United Kingdom. And our meetings are quite interesting and colorful. And as I said, Mac's part of that team. But we're really trying to do as much good out there, just like everyone else, as we can. And would love to have you come join on Thursdays at 2:00 if you'd like to just see what's happening with the E-Club.
Michelle, how many participants do you have, and how often do you meet?
We meet weekly at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursdays. And we have various things we do. We always have a speaker, but we like to play games. So we do a lot of game types of things to get to know people. We have probably, between the regular E-Club Keystone members and the friends and family, if you were to combine those, probably around 50 people, 55 people. I mean, just a year ago, our club was about 16 people. I mean, it's kind of crazy to think about what has happened as far as the growth in our membership. But I think it's appealing to people for a number of reasons. And I think for me, I moved back to Pennsylvania, and when I moved back a few months ago, I was a member of a club in Raleigh, North Carolina, a standard club like the Richmar Club. And, we would have our meetings in the mornings and we'd have breakfast. And then, when I moved back, I just thought, well, I heard about this E-Club, and I'm an international traveler, and I found it very interesting to do projects with people, in other parts of the world, and to be able to know people and see people every week. So the E-Club works out because we're always on Zoom, and, particularly during COVID, it's worked out really, really well because we didn't have to figure out how to readjust, I guess. But it is a different kind of club, and a lot of, we've appealed to a lot of different people, and we're really grateful, very grateful. People like Mac who jumped in and became a friend and family member, and it's really helped our club to get stronger.
Thank you.
Yeah, I recommend people jump in and just just lurk on it. Gary, I think you've been publishing the E-Club address on the newsletter, right?
Right. I was gonna say, Michelle, you want to talk about the guests you have for tomorrow?
I don't know a lot about the guests for tomorrow, Gary. Our newsletter hasn't come out yet. I know it's an individual from Kosovo that runs programs for youth and attempts to get youth involved in programs, but I don't know a lot about the speaker. I'm curious myself to see what they have to say, but I don't really have a lot of background to share. I'm sorry about that.
Hey, Gary, maybe you can take a whack at pronouncing the speaker's last name.
Yeah, Gary, go ahead.
I'll pass on that one. Thank you.
Oh, I'm just kidding you.
Another interesting thing that the E-Club is doing, they're attempting to start an E-Rotary Club.
Oh, yeah, we are. Yeah, we are. We have 11 people signed up so far, but I'm kind of an advisor to the Rotary Club. A couple of us are sitting as advisors, and we have 11 folks that have committed, but we need 20 people So it would be people between the ages of 18 and 30. So people that, you know, are out of college, but maybe don't want to join a standard, if you will, classical Rotary Club. We're trying to do an e-club for Rotaract, and I think we'll get to 20. But if anybody happens to know anybody in that age range that would be interested, again, it's going to be an international club. We had people from Kosovo join, and a person from Greece, and a couple of folks from the States. So it again will be an interesting type of club for, I would say, 20-something individuals.
Michelle, I teach down at Point Park, and we could probably get that promoted through the School of Business as, and we also have a community engagement program as well. That would probably be a good thing that we could just send it out to everybody in the school if they have interest. And also,
that'd be great.
As I mentioned earlier, from time to time, we want to lift up Rotary and what's going on with Rotary. So I think sometime during the spring, since I'm also program chair, it would be very nice to have you as for one of our programs to talk a little more about what all is going on with the E-Club, E-Rotaract, and all things E.
I'd be happy to, of course. Yeah, of course I would. I'd love to do that. And we have a flyer we put together, Chuck, that I could email over to you. It's an informational flyer on the Rotaract Club, and I'd be happy to send it over, and I would very much appreciate the distribution. Yeah, you think it sounds kind of easy. Well, we need to get 20 people together, but it's not easy to get 20 people. It's, you know, it really isn't. So we're continuing to work on that, but I'll send something over a little later today.
All right, and I just put my email in the chat as well.
Oh, okay. I see there. Yep, I got it. Thanks.
Well, Michelle, thanks so much. Go ahead, Joe.
Hey, Jim, you're welcome.
Michelle, it would have been interesting for you to hear our presenter we would have had today. When it comes to the wheelchair efforts, I mean, that's what he does. And, you know, ever since he was disabled with a skiing accident, he has pursued enabling people to be able to walk again. You know, of course, he lives in Mexico, but right now that's where he carries on his project there. So, but that would, maybe you'll get a chance once he's on with us, you'll get a chance to visit with us again.
Yeah, I'm very interested in what he's all about and what his mission's about. And I think he might also be a great speaker for you know, our club. We would love to, you know, we're always looking for speakers. So I was, when I get your newsletter, which is a really great newsletter, and who does that? Gary does that?
Gary, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gary. Yeah, I saw Bob Utes in the newsletter. That was really cool to see. I know Bob really well. And I didn't really know Bob was a member of your club. So that was kind of cool. Bob just drove by my house the other day and did a drive-by stop and you know, just said, hey. But yeah, Bob and Connie are great people. And it was really nice to see that write-up on him in your newsletter.
Yeah, I know since we've known of Richard St. Dennis and his organization, I'd say maybe what, about eight or 9 years, he was introduced to us, and it is transformational, the work. I was really looking forward to getting an update. I'm sure they've had challenges with COVID, but it's truly amazing that you have, you know, folks who have been crawling around on their hands and knees in Mexico that haven't been upright or looked somebody in the eye for years, and it's just amazing that, you know, the wheelchair transforms their life and their whole situation. It's also even interesting how difficult it is to ship wheelchairs, crutches, and things like that from here and actually get them into Mexico. I know he shared that with us over the years as well. So I know I'm still looking forward for us to be able to get connected with him and find out what he's been up to and how things are going. But I'm always totally uplifted by the message and the stories that he has to share with us.
Yeah, I learned firsthand as far as the Build a Chair project, which I've been leading now for almost a year, firsthand how easy it is to take for granted your mobility. And when you're not mobile, you know, your life is so different. And the work that we've been able to do with our Build a Chair program, giving people that mobility just changes their life immediately. It's like an immediate impact. And they go from laying in bed to going to school and going to church and going to, you know, see people and just become a part of the community. So there's so much dignity that goes along with that, we just feel compelled to continue working in that area because there's a great need. So I totally agree with everything you're saying, Jim, and I will look forward to that. The other thing I would mention too is our club does a lot of work with Crutches for Africa, which I'm sure you're familiar with. And Crutches for Africa, you know, they collect items, wheelchairs and walkers and potties, all kinds of things, and they send them in containers to countries. It's a non-profit organization, and director is part of our Friends and Family program. And I was thinking maybe there was a connection for your speaker there to get wheelchairs and different items if we connect them with Crutches for Africa potentially. So I don't know, maybe there's something there that we could do. I don't know.
I could just echo something Michelle said about the change in those people's lives. We often end up getting people wheelchairs when we're in Honduras. And I remember one of the most dramatic was one of the guys that they were carrying him around. This is a grown man, now an adult. And they were carrying him around like people on each corner of a twin bed mattress is the way they used to move him around. And so, you know, I mean, for us, it was like, you know, $300 or something like that. We were able to get him a wheelchair and just totally change the whole dynamic, you know. It really, we don't realize the differences. You know, things that are so easy for us to get accomplished up here are so difficult in some other places.
Sure.
It's hard to have such an impact on someone's life for the price. I mean, it really, for a few $100s, it can totally change someone's entire existence. And that's amazing.
Hmm.
Well, and I think what Michelle said about dignity, but also independence. So there's your story, Gary, there's a person who was totally dependent on 4 other people to move him around, where suddenly, you know, he has control of his life again and he can decide where and when to go. And, you know, obviously with some limitations. So again, it just gives somebody back their sense of self-independence and self-worth. So it is incredible.
One of the other big things, and I know Richard St. Dennis has talked about this many times, but is even the wheelchairs, you know, it's difficult to have a regular wheelchair working on just a dirt path or a rutted kind of terrain. You know, it's one thing when you have nice sidewalks with handicap ramps the way we have around here. But yeah, often you have to get these things specially accommodated with oversized tires and stuff like that to make it easier for them to be mobile in difficult terrain. But yeah, we make a huge difference.
That's really true, and that's why we've partnered with a local shop in Moshi, Tanzania. We've partnered with them because the design of the wheelchair is exactly what you just said, Gary. It's made for the terrain. You know, many of the people that live in the area that we're serving, you know, the roads are mud at best. The terrain is very hilly. And so the wheelchairs from the US don't really work very well there. And the other dilemma is once they break, they can't be fixed. because there are no spare parts, and then they just go in this junk pile heap of stuff. So the beauty of the program that we've been working through is our Rotarian, who's a member of our club, Shadrach Domingo, is a physiotherapist, and he's boots on the ground for us, but he partners with an engineer who knows how to build wheelchairs for the terrain, and they can be fixed, spare parts. So it's been a really cool thing to be involved in, to watch, to support the local economy, as well as give these people, you know, a new lease on life. As Max said, you know, for us, a few $100s maybe doesn't sound like a lot, but that's a very, very big bunch of money for somebody in, you know, Africa, in an African country. But anyway, we could talk forever, I guess, about all these things, but I would be happy to come back in maybe February when we start to relaunch our program, and certainly talk about that, but also talk about the E-Club. That'd be great. I thank you, Chuck.
I'll just mention one other thing on the topic of wheelchairs, is that there are people here locally who also have a need. And so if you know of folks who have wheelchairs and, you know, they've outgrown them for whatever reasons, there's a group at the church where I used to serve, Valencia Presbyterian Church, has a medical lending closet. And they are always looking for wheelchairs to then take and redistribute to people who have need. So,
And having visited that firsthand, it is truly amazing what they have accumulated and are working to put back out into the community. It's quite impressive. It's crazy.
Great.
Well, I know we have Joe and Gary on the agenda for next week's meeting. Joe or Gary, would you like to give us a little primer about something that might want to draw us back next week to hear you folks give us an update on Honduras?
Go ahead, Gary.
I would just say, obviously, I've spoken to our club many times, so you know the basic program that we do down there. But essentially, what I'll be trying to focus on is the differences that first COVID has made, and then more recently the two hurricanes that came through, and how that's impacted Honduras in general, and then our group in particular. So that'll be my focus.
Okay, Joe.
Mine would be similar to Gary's. We travel from up in the northwest of the country, and then we head south in our filter distribution and testing of the filters that are in place when we try to go back to the same areas that we were in. But like Gary said too, with the hurricanes, I mean, I've got pictures. I'll make sure I talk to Gary about to see if he has the same pictures, or maybe I send them to him. You know, especially up in the north, in the Department of Cortez, where one of the largest cities is San Pedro Sula. I mean, there's literally, I got videos of a whole bridge just being washed away, floating down the river in that first hurricane. Is that Eta, Gary? I think it was Eta. You know, but during the first one, and then they get hit. What, a week and a half later, 2 weeks later, with another one. And I mean, they're well, I won't go on anymore now. We can talk about it then. But hurricanes are prevalent there. It seems like every 15 to 20 years they get the big one that comes through, and this time they got two of them. So thanks.
Okay, Jeff, thanks a lot. And Gary and Joe, anything that you can provide, either pictures or within your presentations, and get those to Mac, that would be super, because I think sometimes the story gets enhanced by being able to actually see it firsthand.
Mac, I'm assuming we can just pull it up on a screen share.
Yeah, we can share screen too. Actually, share screen works better.
Better.
Yeah.
Unless you have a really bad internet connection.
Yeah, Mac's the technical guy, so whatever Mac says, that's what we do.
And just to kind of piggyback on what Joe just said, actually the last major hurricane before this that they had hit that part of Central America was Hurricane Mitch back in 1986. And that actually one of the villages that we visit, we still have to drive through the river because the bridge that was knocked out, what is that, 34 years ago now, has still not been replaced. But it was Hurricane Mitch and then an orphanage that was set up in response to that. And a woman from St. Timothy's up in New York that went down to work in that orphanage. That is what served as the impetus to originally get us started as a ministry. So, and as Joe said, they've just been devastated in some parts of the country.
Thanks, Gary. Well, I'm looking at the time. It's about 12:51. Chuck, you orchestrated a great impromptu meeting. I actually found it really informative. So Michelle, thanks for sharing.
Sure.
Ken and Gary and Chuck and others, thanks for sharing and recognizing and Memorial Tom Grant. And again, thanks for the primer for next week. So with that, I think we'll wrap up for today. Adam, again, congratulations on your Paul Harris Fellow, well deserved. And you guys all have a great rest of the week. Stay safe and healthy and get ready for some more guidelines. I think they're coming. So
Go Steelers. Go Steelers. We got to say go Steelers.
Go Steelers.
Go Steelers.
All right.
I second the motion.
All right.
Go Lehigh. Go Bucknell.
Stay safe.
Go Bucknell. Okay, go Bucknell. Who said go Bucknell?
No.
Who said that?
Probably was Dan Goss.
I was thinking it. I didn't say it, but my mentor, current president Jim Dionis, was the one that brought that up. So thank you.
Go Bucknell.
That was fair. I should go Lehigh and I should go Bucknell. I'm impartial.
And I say go
Jim.
And I say go Dickinson.
Okay.
I'd say go Arsenal.
All right, bye guys.
Bye-bye.